Here's an example of how you can write a linear equation when you're given 2 points. In this example, we're given the point 3,5 and the point 820. Keep in mind the two things we need to know in order to write a linear equation in slope-intercept form is the slope and also the y-intercept. It's also helpful to know that slope-intercept form is written as y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Now, since we don't know either the slope or the y-intercept on this example, we have to solve for them. We do know that each of these points has an x and a y. And if we think about what slope means, we've talked about slope is the rate of change. We've also said that slope is the rise divided by the run. A third way that we've talked about it is saying it's the change in y divided by the change in x. And this definition right now is going to be the one that's the most helpful for us. So we're trying to figure out, to get from one point to the other point, how much did the y change, and we're going to divide that by how much the x changed from one point to the other point. So it's really important that we go from, if we're going from point A to point B, we do that in the same direction for both the y and the x. We can choose if we want to use A and go to B, or if we want to start at B and go to A. So for this one, I'm going to go from B to A because I have larger numbers over here. And I can also take this change in y over change in x and write it as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. In this case, my first point would have x1 and y1, and my point 2 would have x2 and y2. So if I use this, this is why I've decided to take this and make this x2, y2 as my second point, is because I'm going to subtract, and I would rather subtract small numbers from big numbers to avoid negatives if possible. So using this definition of slope, I can now take y2, which is 20, and subtract y1, which is 5, and I want to divide that from x2, which is 8, and I want to subtract that. I want to subtract x1 from that, which is 3. So if I simplify this right now, I have 20 minus 5, which is 15, and then I have that divided by 8 minus 3, which is 5. I can simplify this even further to say 15 divided by 3 is, or 15 divided by 5 is 3. So this now means that my slope for these 2 points is 3. So I now know what I need to know for number 1. I know slope, but I still don't know y-intercept. We can now use this slope, though, and one of the points to figure out what our y-intercept is. So you can choose whichever point you want to use. I'm going to choose the first point on this one because the numbers are smaller. So thinking back to this equation now, I now know m, and I know an x and a y. So I can solve for b since I know those other things. So using this first point, y is 5, and that's equal to m, which I just solved for in my slope, which is 3, times, in this case, my x is also going to be 3, and I still don't know b. So now I can simplify this. 3 times 3 is 9, and to get 9 to the other side, I can think what 9 plus what equals 5, or I can take 9 and subtract 9 to neutralize it. Then I have to subtract 9 from the other side, and I end up with b equals negative 4. So now I know this negative 4, and that's b here, so now I can write my equation because I know both of the things I need to know. So my equation for this one would be y equals m was our slope that we solved for, times x, and then plus b. In this case, b is negative 4, so I can subtract 4. So we end up with y equals 3x minus 4.